on, vinyl community? Welcome to another video with the Record Spinner. In today's video, I will be showcasing my 50% off vinyl haul. I did a video like this roughly a year ago, but it's that time of year where the record store that I manage called the Rock Shop, as well as the two locations up in Pennsylvania, always do a 50% off sale where we will curate a selection of records, put them out at half off to make way for the inventory that's bound to come in for record store day. So it's that usual saying of out with the old, in with the new. And overall, the sale always goes down rather well. Always gets people digging into the table bins and seeing what exactly lies in there. And it's usually a case where, you know, for someone that's curious on a record and doesn't want to pay full price for and kind of take that gamble, they usually wait it out until it might appear in a 50% off bin. That way they can pay half price for it and it's not too much of a risk. And usually for myself, where I do have like kind of my tastes in line, there are usually some surprises that I will see in the half off bin, or just something that I've been curious about that, just like I stated, I don't mind spending, you know, half the value and checking it out for myself. And I do have here quite a nice little stack here that obviously I did not want to merge into the monthly haul, just because that would be an even longer haul than what they normally tend to be. So it was worth doing a separate video on. And as you saw, there's quite a bit to get through, so enough of the chit chat. Let's jump into what this video is all about. Starting off with Pat Benatar's Icon. I do enjoy Pat Benatar. She has an amazing voice. Never really delved too deep into checking out specific albums. And this Icon compilation, there's quite a series of these Icon comps, literally just brings together all the hits. And to be honest, when it comes to Pat's work, I think that is perhaps all you might possibly need. And it's funny because I was listening to this and I was just like, oh yeah, I know that song. I know that song. Oh, I didn't know that was her. Oh, okay, cool, I've heard that. So of course you get things like, you know, Love is a Battlefield, Hit Me With Your Best Shot, We Belong, Heartbreaker, Hell is for Children. All solid stuff. And this is indeed a Walmart exclusive pressing that kind of made its way into the shops. And it is pressed on blue vinyl, which is rather nice. And it's just a nice, great sort of primer starting point for checking out Pat Benatar's work. And if anything, I will be seeking out some of the earlier solo albums after hearing this great comp. So happy that I got this for half off. Next up is Pujol Kisses. Now, Pujol actually is a punk project that did a single on Jack White's Third Man Records label. They also did a live release where they recorded a live album in their live room. And just upon that association, I did enjoy what I heard of Pujol's work. So when I saw this album of theirs in the bins, I figured, okay, this would be a prime time for me to own a proper Pujol studio album. And I gotta say, the artwork for this is rather cool. It kind of folds out like this. It's not like a traditional album jacket, but it's almost like a poster type jacket here, which opens up just like this. Very vibrant and colorful. And of course, comes pressed on black vinyl. And here are the custom center labels there. So I figured might as well check it out for myself, since I did enjoy the live album and single that they did on Third Man. Next up is an old Record Store Day release that I remember seeing quite often and always was kind of curious on, but just, like I said, didn't want to pay full price, or I figured I would just encounter it at a different time. And that is Behind the Dikes, Beat, Blues, and Psychedelic Nuggets from the Lowlands, 1964 to 1972. So consider this the sort of Netherlands version of the infamous Nuggets compilation that brings together a lot of those sort of psych, underground, psychedelic, you know, bits from the late 60s. Instead, we're focusing on an entirely different region altogether. And there are quite a number of bands featured on this compilation, as you can see here. To be honest with you, the one that I know off the bat is Shocking Blue. They have their song Love Buzz, which of course Nirvana covered on their debut album Bleach. But everything else, it's going to be a bit of a blind listen. So I'm actually quite excited to dig into this. I just figured, just down to the cover, this had to be interesting. But I figured, you know what? Might as well get myself acquainted with some Netherlands beat, blues, and psychedelia. And so here we have a gatefold of all the bands represented here on the compilation. And each record comes with a printed inner sleeve with single sleeves and notes for each song. Kind of gives you some history and context, which is quite nice. The first LP comes pressed on yellow vinyl on the, this looks like a, it's like a blackish, very, very dark blue Decca label. And here's the other sleeve here. And this one comes pressed on sort of turquoise colored vinyl. This was put out by Music on Vinyl, and it is also limited and numbered. I have copy number 671 here. So very happy to dive my way into some Netherlands-based beat blues and psychedelia with the Behind the Dikes compilation. And I believe there's another installment of this series coming out for this year's Record Store Day. So now that's a means of getting the other one once I listen to this one. So, or who knows, maybe that'll be in the next 50% off bin. We'll see. But I'm excited for that. Next up is another album that I kind of picked up just because of the Green Day connection, and that is Billie Joe Armstrong and Norah Jones Foreverly. This is their take on the Everly Brothers album, Songs Our Daddy Taught Us. So it's all kind of like Southern type hymns and such. So they had a crack at doing it. And I remember when this album came out. This came out back in 2013, I want to say. So this was around the time that Green Day had done the Uno, Dos, and Tre album. So I remember seeing this pop up as well, and I was like, oh, that looks kind of interesting. But here I am, 10 years later, finally giving it a listen. And like I said, it's because of the Green Day connection with Billie Joe. And I do enjoy Norah Jones as well, to give this album a listen. And this comes on sort of marbled orange colored vinyl, which obviously does fit the color scheme of the album quite nicely. And next up is an album that I honestly did not have my eye on whatsoever, and it wasn't until my coworker Andrea had actually played it in the store turntable, and I listened to it, and I was like, whoa, what is this? And this is Field Music. The album is called Flat White Moon. This, I believe, is their latest album from 2021. I remember seeing this like around the time when I started working at the shop, so this must have come out right around that time. But if you're very much into sort of Baroque pop of Montreal type stuff, I would say definitely give this album a listen, since this is very much what it reminded me of. And upon hearing it, I was like, you know what? Got to get it for myself. And now, because this is my first Field Music record, I now have to check out other albums of theirs that are perhaps similar in the vein of this one, since I enjoyed it very much. And this comes pressed on sort of clearish colored vinyl. So, and I believe this is the indie exclusive, since it is on clear vinyl. So, happy to get a little bit of a blind listen in with my 50% off vinyl acquisitions with Field Music. And next up is a band that is a firm favorite amongst my coworkers. I need to get their other studio albums that they have put out recently, since they always play them in the store. And my good friend slash coworker Patrick actually picked up this album at another record store, coincidentally, for 50% off. And he played it, and I asked him if he would make me an offer for it, but he wasn't biting. So when I saw this, initially I missed it, and then he pulled it out, and I was like, oh, snap, definitely. And that is a band called the Shivas. This album is called Whiteout. Great sort of garage surf rock band out of Portland. This was back when they were on a smaller label. This is one of their early releases. They've signed on to a different label now, and they have a number of great releases that, like I said, I got to seek out for myself. But 50% off, can't go wrong with it. And this does come with a cool little insert as well, which is worth showcasing. It's almost like a poster insert almost. So here you have a cool shot of the band, and you have all the credits here, which is very nice. And like I said, it's cool, like garage surf rock type stuff. So if you're into that kind of thing, definitely check out the Shivas and the album Whiteout. Next up is actually a band that I remember showcasing in the 50% off vinyl haul that I did a year ago. This time around, having picked up the album that I got previously, I picked up another album of theirs when I was in Greensburg, Pennsylvania. It's all kind of coming full circle, because here is the latest album by First Aid Kit. This album is called Palomino. This actually came out, I believe, earlier this year, and for some reason, like, we sold like maybe a small handful of copies, but this duo from Sweden is so underappreciated. Great vocals, great melodies, great harmonies. You definitely got to check them out for yourself. It's just absolutely gorgeous stuff. And also, once again, to tie it all in, because it piqued my interest, they did a single on Third Man, and that's how I first heard of these guys. So I figured, okay, I might as well delve my way. See, that's the great thing with enjoying certain labels that have different artists on the roster, because now it enables you to kind of dig deeper. And obviously, printed inner sleeve with artwork and lyrics. And this is another indie exclusive pressing on white vinyl, which is pretty nice. And moving onward, now we're going to kind of go backwards a little bit into some slightly older territory. This is a band that my coworker Joe played me once, and I really was shocked with what I heard, mainly because I was shocked that he would listen to a band like this, because my friend Joe's taste is kind of all over the place. But when he showed me this, I saw some really strong folky Jethro Tull type influences, and this is an album by a band called Comus. This album is called, where's the album title? First Utterance. Rather solid band from back in, I think this came out back in 1970, 1971. Like I said, if you're into some more kind of folkier driven Jethro Tull stuff, then definitely check out this album for yourself. I was actually quite surprised with what I heard. Great gatefold artwork. And is there an insert in here? Yes, there is, which has lyrics which are quite a trip to read as you listen to it. I will say that, at least. You really have to give it a listen for yourself so you can get what I'm talking about. But overall, very happy to get my hands on this album that I've been kind of eyeing for a while as part of the half-off sale. Next up, we go back into the psychedelic 60s, and my coworker Patrick actually wanted this, but there was only one, so I kind of snagged it before he could. And this is an album by a band called the Bow Street Runners. Great sort of psychedelic, Farfisa-driven, fuzzy harmonies, great melodies. I mean, it's very much a product of the time. You know, obviously, as you can tell by the cover, you know that it's from the 60s. But upon hearing a couple of samples of this, because I remember when I saw it, I was like, yeah, that looks kind of interesting. I'll approach it later. But then upon listening to some of the samples, I was like, oh yeah, this is solid stuff. So got my hands on that, and this Sundazed pressing comes pressed on sort of clear vinyl with red swirls, which is pretty cool. Also matches the red label there. So very pleased to get my hands on this. Next up is another album that I've been meaning to get for the longest time. Back when I visited Factory Records up in North Jersey, I want to say roughly a year ago, I picked up their psychedelic Lollipop album. And just by saying that alone, you probably guessed what band I'm talking about. And that is Blues Magoos Electric Comic Book. This was a missing piece in my Blues Magoos collection. So I finally got this reissue by Sundazed. And it does come with a reproduction of the comic book that came with the original album, which is quite nice indeed. Next, we get into some sort of German territory. Once again, another band instigated by Third Man, since they did a single on the label. And my coworker Andrea, who had actually spent some time living in Germany, had said that out of all of the albums by this particular band to check out, this was the first place to start. So the band I'm talking about is Dungen, and please forgive me if I botched up the the pronunciation. The album is called Tadet Lungt. I hope. Apologies to any German viewers that see this. But she said to check out this album, and this is great sort of proggy, psychedelic, type rock. It's all in German, so I'm gonna have quite an interesting time listening to this and trying to figure out what exactly is going on. But I can at least appreciate the instrumentation as well as the melodies. And this pressing, I believe this is a Newberry Comics exclusive. Comes pressed on sort of, I guess you could say, not clear vinyl, but it has black and yellow splatter that kind of emerges in, makes a rather sort of murky brownish sort of color combo, which looks absolutely awesome. Does fit the color scheme of the artwork as well. I feel like that's a common thing. I'm just saying, the color vinyl matches the color scheme, which it's always pleasing when that does happen. And then here is the second LP as well. Same deal. Spiral labels with the embroidery center labels. So that's good stuff. Next up is another band that I've been listening to a lot as of lately. I just showcased these guys in my last monthly vinyl haul video. Now I'm just seeking out whatever else is out there of this particular band. The band that I am talking about is Fanny, and this album is called Charity Ball. First all-female band to be signed to a major label back in the late 60s, early 70s. Just absolutely solid stuff. If you're into like the Beatles and Badfinger and sort of Motown type stuff, definitely give Fanny a listen, and I am excited to check out this album of theirs. This one, I believe, is their second one, which came out right before Fanny Hill, which is the one that I got most recently that I've been listening to non-stop. So, filling out the Fanny collection once and for all. This was put out by Real Gone Music, pressed on red vinyl with the orange Reprise label, and I believe this is limited to, I think, 2,000 copies, something like that. Copies are indeed limited, so I'm very happy to snag it while it's still readily available. And last but not least, we're going to round things off with a couple records that coincidentally are on the Riding Easy Records label. Great label if you're into sort of doom metal, stoner metal, hard rock type stuff. And one of these albums is of a band that I have already in my collection, and then two are brand new kind of blind listens that I've just heard just in passing. So I'll start with the familiar one first. We have an album by the Death Wheelers, and this album is called, I believe this is their just self-titled debut, I believe. There's no title on it. But if you're into just sort of groove-based, instrumental, doomy hard rock, this is the band for you. And all their albums are sort of like Chopper influenced, just down to the artwork, as well as the other album of theirs that I got from Noble Records on a Whatnot show that he was hosting. Just the fact that it's on Riding Easy just kind of made me curious, and upon listening to that one album that I got, I figured I would check out this one as well. Also does come with a cool little insert here, so you can see like the denim vest and everything. There's the real kind of biker theme going on here. And what's cool with getting records from Riding Easy and record stores is that there's always a multitude of colored pressings that you don't know what you're going to get unless you order specifically from their site. But this pressing comes pressed on pink vinyl, which is rather cool. And I also love the sort of homage to the Atlantic label there, as you can see, which is pretty awesome. So very happy to get my hands on some more Death Wheelers. And next up is a band that I've been curious on for a while, and that band is called Death Chant. This album is called Waste. Kind of partly instrumental. There's vocals that appear, and in some areas on this album, but just a great sort of, similar in the vein of Death Wheelers, just groovy based hard rock. Phenomenal stuff. I mean, with a band that looks like this, they have to be good. just judging by the looks of them. But like I said, Riding Easy, had to give it a whirl. And this comes pressed on red vinyl, which is pretty cool. And we have one more album from Riding Easy, and this actually came out, I want to say this was last year, and that is the self-titled debut album by Early Moods. Rather new, young, fresh band. Sounds like Deep Purple and Sabbath kind of mixed together, and just back when they were promoting this album, on the label. I heard a few bits and pieces, and I was curious with how the album sounded, and so sure enough, I waited till it just appeared in the half-off bin, and I checked it out for myself. Cool bunch of guys there, and this pressing comes pressed, if I can get it out, on a cool piece of sort of marbled dark gray vinyl, which is very cool. Like I said, it's a luck of the draw when it comes to the Riding Easy pressings in terms of what color variant you might get and whatnot, and some are more limited than others, so it's fun from a collectability standpoint. Whew, just by that pile altogether, I have a lot of listening to do before Record Store Day creeps in. But there you guys go. That is my 50% off vinyl haul. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead, give it a like, and subscribe to the channel. See you guys in the next video, and most importantly, keep the records spinning.